Let me start with two incidences that have taken place in past but will give you a very important context that I want to set here. The first, resident of Arunachal Pradesh was not allowed transit through China because they did not recognize Arunachal Pradesh as part of India. And second incident, where US files highlighted that China has core interests labeled over Arunachal Pradesh. That means China sees Arunachal Pradesh equivalent to Taiwan, and that is how they would want it to be treated. So you have to keep in mind that how China is trying to target Taiwan, similar target is set towards Taiwan. And now adding to it, we just got to know that from 800 kilometers away from India in Arunachal Pradesh, China is building up something that could change not just South Asia but globe's strategy, calculus and security calculus. And I am talking about nuclear developments here. And this is where we just don't need to talk about deterrence, stability, but also how it is important for India to protect its own and how this will be taken up by the world, because China is not going to stop here. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about the build-up, the nuclear build-up that is taking place near Arunachal Pradesh, but not just with the lens that how it is a troublesome situation for India, but also how it should be a worrisome situation for the whole of the globe. Starting with understanding that what exactly has happened. So basically China is expanding their nuclear related infrastructure in Sichuan province, and if you talk about this province is merely 800 kilometers from Arunachal Pradesh. So if you compare it to the earlier older nuclear facilities of China, they were farther away from India, but now they are within the range of 800 kilometers. And this has been revealed by satellite images which are showing that there is presence of hardened bunkers, tunnels, testing zones and also secure compound. Now when we are talking about this particular satellite image that has shown and the activity that is being understood, it clearly shows fact that modernization and scaling of nuclear weapon production is something China is taking very seriously, and China has shifted their policy. They are not talking about deterrence anymore. They are talking about showing it in terms of number. And this is where multiple dimensions open up that we need to understand, starting with the first one, that what exactly are the direct consequences and direct concerns with regards to India in this context. So the first concern is of course the geographical proximity. So when we are talking about this particular range, as I highlighted, 800 kilometers, this is way nearer than as compared to previous time. And when you are talking about proximity, you also have to understand I am talking about proximity to Arunachal Pradesh, specifically northeast India here. Now when we talk about our presence of infrastructure, our arsenals there comparatively limited. So this puts us in a difficult situation where we will have reduced response time in conflict scenarios. Another thing that we have understood from the satellite images, that the arsenal which has been present here, that is underground tunnels and mountains, which is something very difficult to target. So that is another concern for India. Let's just say in a worst case scenario, we have to attack this arsenal, that is also not targetable. And when you look at the numbers, especially when we are talking about India's northern border, this is a very important case study that you can quote. In last 8 years, especially since Doklam standoff, the build-up is extremely high, especially around northern borders of India. Now, when we connect the dots, we get to understand that this will also lead up to two-front pressure. So, we have the issue of geographical proximity, we have the issue of survivable arsenal, we have the issue of two-front pressure, because India has already a nuclear adversary present on the western end, that is Pakistan. Now, in the northern and eastern end, we will have presence of China, and with increasing numbers of nuclear arsenal, this problem only multiplies. It does not seem to be decreasing. And especially when we are talking about China, it is a country which cannot be trusted in any way. Because when we were resuming, last year itself, when we are resuming our diplomatic conversations, we are resuming trade with China, that is exactly when China denied transit to the resident of Arunachal Pradesh. So this is where it becomes further more difficult. And another important factor that India needs to understand and address it, that yes, this is also a very timely strategic signaling. When we are talking about infrastructure expansion, even if India does it on their land near the borders, it is taken as signaling. When we are talking about dam construction in Assam, dam construction in Arunachal Pradesh, road construction in higher hilly areas near borders, they are always understood as that we are trying to send a deterrence message that we are present here. So we can assume the same from China, that China is using this as a strategic signaling that infrastructure expansion that we are doing, especially near India, it is to send a deterrence message in order to make India think that we are not present. You shouldn't think like that, we are absolutely present here. So these are the key concerns that India should be looking into, with added issues like Northeast's limited infrastructure, Northeast's limited deployment and how it can be choked through Siliguri corridor, that also comes into the picture. I will be not going into the Siliguri corridor and detail because I have already covered it in a video in detailed manner. You can go and watch that in terms of significance of Siliguri corridor and Chinese presence and how it affects. All of that has been covered. Now from here we will be moving to the next dimension. We will be talking about military balance, because this is something that has been highlighted in certain news articles as well, because the nuclear arsenal as of now is 600 warheads and it is increasing, and it is expected that it will cross 1000 by 2030. So if you are looking at Chinese arsenal, the number and the speed at which it is growing, it is something that India only does not need to take concerns and context into understanding. It is also the globe here. So if the expansion for China improves, war production capacity enhances, maintenance capability enhances, and so does the readiness level. So anybody who wants to counter China's presence, be it US, be it other countries and India, we have to take this into account, because the regional nuclear balance with this number in mind and in coming years, it is not far away, it is just 4 years away. In 4 years, the whole nuclear regional balance might tilt towards China. And nuclear adversary with such might is not just a problem for India, but many other countries as well. Can you tell me in the comment section, apart from India and US, which other countries would not want China to grow at such a massive rate in terms of nuclear arsenal? Now this brings another dimension in highlight, is the fact that this shows that China has shifted their policy. There is a massive strategic shift that has happened, because initially China was about minimal deterrence. They wanted to have survivable arsenal, but that was limited, and the launch readiness, especially with reference to India, that was delayed, because as I mentioned before, it was way more than 800 kilometers. But what analysts are thinking that at present is the new posture, that they want to have large stockpile, because that stockpile itself sends the deterrence message. Apart from that, they don't want to be limited by the delays. They want deployment and as soon as possible. And they also want higher operational readiness. So this shows that China has transitioned not just from assertive, but a clearer and more direct, more bold nuclear strategy. And in this context, India would also need to rethink its infrastructure, its nuclear strategy, and also the doctrines which are in place. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think that India should do in this context so as to adapt to the new posture of our adversary and sometimes friend which is present in neighborhood? Now another angle that we need to understand right here is the fact Now, another important dimensions, once we have established that there is a posture shift, is why world should be worried. What are the things that globe also needs to look out for? Because when we are talking about China, China is not some random small economy. It is an economic giant, even though it is slowing down, but at the same time, as of now, it is not part of major nuclear arms control treaty. So, major economic backhand is present, and say at the same time there is no nuclear arms control treaty which can bind China. So they have a go-go situation. Furthermore, they can focus on rapid expansion and without any explanation, because they are part of no nuclear arms control treaty at the same time. So transparency not required. And this is a combination of factors which will only increase mistrust. Again emphasizing not just for India, but for all the other powers. And as a result, because of this very factor, the arms race in Asia will be fastened, it will be accelerated, and all the countries, be it Taiwan, be it India, be it Pakistan, be it Russia, be it Japan, they will be joining in. Because China-Japan adversary is not unknown to anybody. It is known to everybody. Furthermore, India-China context. So this will kick in a new segment of accelerated, faster arms buying, nuclear arsenal stockpiling race that we cannot expect. Second, US-China escalation will be on the tip. We don't know when it might come in. And furthermore, just because of this, because Russia would not want to be left out of the race, they would be pushed to bring in more stockpile in their arsenal. And all of these factors increase more and more probability of accidental escalation. So this is basically putting more gunpowder in place. The more gunpowder, the more volatility and the higher the probability of a blast. And this is what exactly is happening with China's pushing in terms of its nuclear arsenal. Now from this, we understand one simple thing, that for India, it is a time to strengthen deterrence capability. We have to invest better in terms of surveillance to understand what's going on, and in order to match up to that, we have to work on missile defense and also ensure second strike capability. That means even if China decides to strike us first, we should be standing enough to retort back, be it in terms of missiles, be it in terms of defense itself. Other than that, if it is for the world, you have to understand that strategic takeaway here is that China's build-up is a time of change of global nuclear order, that more people are signing up. China is not part of any nuclear arms control treaty. That means there is no question that can be asked from China. So in this context, we need to bring in a framework which can make them accountable. Otherwise, there will be a higher instability risk already in the unstable global order that is right in front of us. Now, that was all from my side. Thank you so much.